everyone, welcome to the Slice of Real Estate podcast. I'm your host, Jared Taylor. Joining me today is Elizabeth Braman, the CEO of Revolution RE. But I guess you go by Liz, right?
I do. I probably
Awesome.
should have added my full
No, you're
name
fine.
there.
We
And
can say formal name too, and then kick back to what you like to be
Mhm.
called.
Sure.
So glad to see you again. You and I first met at Blueprint, which was awesome, which we just got back from a few days ago. Um, First off, let's give a shout out to them. What were your thoughts on this year's event?
It's a really good event. I am always surprised, pleasantly surprised. They get amazing speakers. It's a well curated event, and it's kind of paced well. They give enough time and space for the kind of conference room floor. It doesn't feel like that's kind of an afterthought, which some conferences do, which you're spending good money there, so you kind of want to get in front of the people you want to get in front of, and but it's not like a sales vendor conference. It's more capital, so that gives it a different feel as well. But overall, I'm always pleased and looking forward to next year. It's a good conference.
Yeah, there was a lot of great talks too, which the content was really good. Um,
Yeah.
the roundtables were nice,
Mm-hmm.
well structured conversations. Um, I had a great time at the event. Met a lot of awesome people. Loved the exhibitor floor hall. I thought it was super easy to navigate. And then if you wanted to have a quick meeting, you could either go to the meeting area or you could just go to one of the lunch tables, which was right there too. So there was plenty of spaces to have a quiet
Yeah.
conversation if you wanted. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
That,
Well, so we talked a little bit about what you were doing at Blueprint, but I want to give you a chance to also tell the audience now. Let's assume someone listening. Let's go from like kind of the start. Let's assume someone doesn't know about Revolution. What do you tell them?
I say we're a data platform for multifamily because that's kind of the easiest starting point. We are unlocking real estate data. It's been a kind of passion of mine for several years now to figure out the issues behind why real estate is so challenging from a data perspective. Um, there's a number of reasons why it's a illiquid market, it's privately held assets, it's a global market that's the largest asset class by an order of magnitude over other investments, and it's been traditionally fairly fragmented. So, not a ton of institutional ownership of real estate, at least in the US. It's been less than half. So it's not surprising that um, the technology, when you're looking at like enterprise software solutions, they tend to go more for larger operators, larger companies. If you have two units or two apartment buildings, even, do you really need to spend a lot of money and time and effort on technology? Probably not. So that's kind of led to this landscape where it's very challenging for owners and managers to look at their own data as well as to use additional data sets to utilize a lot of the new technologies that are coming to market these days, which are pretty exciting. At the conference, there was tons of presentations on AI, and it's not surprising. But the applications of generative AI and of machine learning models, all of those things require that you have access to good data sets, and that's been challenged, which is why we're working on solving that with a foundational model. And I was thrilled to hear a lot of people talking about how foundational data and standardization. Every time I hear people talk about that on panels, I get excited because the more that becomes a part of the conversation, the more people see that that's a critical component of unlocking data, makes my job a little easier when it becomes kind of a topic of conversation or something that becomes a part of our collective.
Now, historically, this is getting better, but the real estate sector is traditionally slow to adopt new technologies. So, what have been some of the key factors in convincing, you know, clients that the value of Revolution already brings?
That's a great question. And yeah, I mean, when you look at the fact that real estate also it's very transactional in nature, that when you sell a property or a property management company buys another property management company, when uh, properties sell, managers move or change positions, every single time you are changing hands, that is shifting and kind of shaping how data is presented. And so people are starting to kind of understand and see that that's creating, let alone the fact that there's a number of different property management systems that people can use, that creates challenges in getting all your data in one place. And so when you talk to companies that have that challenge where they have different managers, which is not uncommon, that is a pain point that companies have. And the ability to kind of access and tap into it, that's very compelling. It has been less challenging the more installations that we do. When we have over 50 management companies where we've installed, that means that there's a chance that we've installed on the clients at least one of their management companies, and that's a pretty good removal of a barrier to even just kind of take a look, because adding additional properties to a management company's property list makes it kind of easy. And when you take that friction of like, oh, it's going to be so hard to get this set up, when you take that away, it definitely removes at least one concern of clients as to like how big of a lift is this going to be. The second step is like, okay, well, what do you do with it? Why would I bother to, what does that mean, unlocking my data? And that's where, from the most simplest of terms, it's like, okay, do you want to run reports where you don't have to copy and paste from Excel, multiple systems? That's a no-brainer. Auto-populating reports, disseminating information across an organization, those are kind of easy ones. Dashboards, all that's great. Where it gets kind of interesting and exciting is like, oh, what can we do with this? Like, where does it take the next step and say, okay, would you like to do an automated predictive budget? Would you like to run a model that tells you probabilities on turnover, or optimize your days on market to see, can I get better yield by having a 9-month lease as opposed to a 12-month lease or a 14-month lease, because that'll reduce how many days this unit's going to be sitting. So optimizing things, that's where it gets kind of exciting. And the McKinsey report that was recently done on the impact of generative AI in real estate showed on average 10% increase to NOI for companies that were able to effectively utilize generative AI technologies with their real estate. And that's pretty compelling. If you ask an operator, you want to add 10% to your NOI, that's a hard one to say no to, but your data has to be in a accessible and standardized format in order to kind of take advantage of those applications.
Let's talk about this for a second. So, obviously, you focus on uh, data standardization for property managers and investors. Can you explain though how your platform integrates with existing property management systems and why this is so crucial?
Yeah. Integration, that's like I always put that in quotes because in our industry, most people think of APIs, and that's kind of a bi-directional which may or may not be the right way to access data from property management systems. We tend to look to get as much data as possible in raw form. So it may be an API, but we don't push anything back into the property management systems. We're not um, integrated from that standpoint. We're really pulling data in order to make it available and usable in kind of a easy no code plug and play way in our system using extraction and transformation. I call them ETLs, so extract, transform, and load. That puts all your data from whatever your manager's property management system is into um, a data warehouse for use to kind of do all the fun things with it. It's kind of like the first step before you can do any real AI ML applications is to have all your data one place, or not all your data. It's you have to capture it from different places, but you want to centralize it, standardize it, and then you can start to make it usable in different ways.
How do you see data analytics shaping the future of real estate management over the next 5 to 10 years? And I guess what trends are you really keeping an eye on?
I think it's hugely transformative because the um, managers um, are in the people business, and they should be in the people business, and that means spending more time talking and listening and working with the residents, getting to know their residents, really having meaningful connections with them, working with their on-site team to prioritize work orders, to make sure that the property is safe and looks nice, all of the things that are really important to having a healthy, happy building. And that's really a people-focused business. Analytics is something that is, if properly bought into by an organization, that's a thing that surfaces all the details that help to maximize your efficiency. The things that are really hard to see when you're just looking at a spreadsheet full of numbers, to do comparative analysis, to do predictive analytics, to really help the managers and the on-site teams and the folks that aren't on site at the property at all, your regionals, your executives, your asset managers, who are, that was my background, as we were, ownership groups. You're pretty far away from the property, to have the ability to keep tabs on the details, the things that kind of fall through the cracks, like knowing when your uh, average turn times are slipping, and it's either seasonal because it's the holidays and you've got people out, or it's that you've got an issue and you're understaffed. So being able to use data to not just kind of presentation and highlight issues, but also to be really proactive in making recommendations and to identifying when there's things that are more than just seasonal or temporary anomalies, that they really are like, oh, we're trending in a wrong direction, and here's a recommendation. That in the aggregate across a portfolio can have just a massive impact across the board on how property managers and asset managers are able to maintain efficiency at properties. So I think, in the next 10 years, we're going to be seeing some significant changes in how efficient properties are run, using data to help to identify a lot of issues, to do a lot more um, ESG initiatives, really getting very precise on how do we maintain energy efficiency at properties? How do we make sure that we get to know who our residents are and give them the best housing experience, that we treat them like the members of the community that they want to be treated like? how do they want to be treated? Um, how do we maintain the property to make sure that we are maximizing all of our um, on-site tools to the best of our ability? All of those things, I think, are going to be made better and better and more efficient with these technologies.
Last question for you. What's next for Revolution RE?
Oh, we're getting into the fun stuff. We'll be continuing to add additional data sources, third-party data sets. We're working with our current clients to identify what their biggest pain points are, um, bringing on some industry partners where we can collaborate on technologies. We've got a lot of cool stuff kind of in the works, so stay tuned on that. And for sure, if you have any interest, we're happy to do demonstrations and have lots of fun stuff that we can share. We do a monthly newsletter and usually give kind of an update on our most recent. We just released something I'm calling Hot Sheets, so we can populate people's Excel templates with real-time data feeds, which is a really cool use case. So you don't have to get rid of. People keep talking about getting rid of Excel. I'm like, real estate people are not going to get rid of Excel. I don't think that's ever going to happen. So how do you lean in and kind of work with the tools people have? Don't get rid of that template that you've been using for years. If you like it and know it, just supercharge it. So
Love it.
that's kind of that's what we're working on.
Well, Liz, I want to thank you so much for joining us here today. Please keep us
Thank
updated on
you.
anything happening, with the business, and look forward to staying in touch.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. It was a pleasure.